This is a very quick guided tour of the latest LineLearner app for iPhone, iPad or iPod Touch. The first thing we want to do is create a script. I already have a script here for Annie, which is a play we've just finished. I'm now going to create a new script for the play Mr. Quigley's Revenge. So I just go in, I can type in there, I'll call it Quigley, and then hit the plus button there, and you can see the script has now been created. Right, if you need to change the name of the script or anything like that, you can just tap here and you can see you can change the name, and you can also share it to another iOS device via Bluetooth, etc. Okay, going back, now I've got a script created. The next thing to do obviously is record. So you go onto the recording tab, you start off with a new scene, and here you can create new scenes, and then you can record lines for yourself and lines for other people. So I'm going to start and I'm going to record a few lines from the script Mr. Quigley's Revenge. I'm going to be the part of Ivor, and I'm going to also do the parts for the other people as record others. So I'll start off with someone else, so in this case it's Martin, and they're recording as record others. Oh, evening Mr. Graves, you wanted to talk about the sound cues? Oh yes, Ivor, I did. Have you read through the play? Most of it. Funny language, isn't it? But did all the sound cues I've marked up make sense? Yeah, most of them, except there's one thing that kept cropping up, and I don't know what it is. What was that? Alarum. Alarum? Keeps coming up towards the end. Show me. So as you can see here, I've recorded a number of lines, and as you record the lines it shows the recording level along with the duration of the line. If I wanted to re-record a line, I can just select that line and then press the re-record button. Now that I've recorded a script, the next thing I want to do is play it back. So to start off with, I'm going to go to the settings tab and I'm going to turn playback my lines on. And that means that when I go to playback and start at the top, it'll play back all my lines and all the lines of everyone else. So now I'm going to play back those lines. So I'm just going to hit the play button and it'll go through playing them back. Oh, evening Mr. Graves, you wanted to talk about the sound cues? Oh yes, Ivor, I did. Have you read through the play? Most of it. Funny language, isn't it? As you can see, it goes through and it plays back your line and their line. And this works pretty much the same way as when you hear a song over and over again, you get to know the lines. By listening over and over again, you get to learn your lines. So what you can then do when you're feeling fairly confident that you know your lines, you can go back and turn off play back my lines, but you might want to say turn on play my line after gap. Now what this will do, if we go back to playback, is it'll do the first line and then it'll give the right duration for your line for you to say it if you can remember it. Evening Mr. Graves, you wanted to talk about the sound cues? And then after that duration is finished, it'll then play your line back just so you can check that you got it right. You can then, once you're feeling even more confident, you can turn that off, and on playback what it'll then do is it'll just play back their lines, and then it'll leave a gap for you to speak your lines into. If you at any point can't remember your lines, then there's always the prompt button, and that'll then funny language, isn't it? And that will play your line into the gap. Now you may not want everything just saying scene 1 and line 2, etc. So what you can do is you can go to the editing tab, and here you can change things. So you can change the name of the scene. This was actually scene 3, and it was the rehearsal, so I could change that to rehearsal. In this case I'll just change it to scene 3, and then the line name you can change. This was actually Martin speaking, so I could put in I can put in that it's Martin. Like that, and you can also re-record the line from here if you need to and change whose line it is. As well as that, on this tab you can also swap the lines around if you need to move them, change them to a different position, and you can delete them here by hitting the minus button and then the delete. I'll just go through some of the other options that are available. So there is the looping option. Here you can change the looping between off, single, scene and all. So off doesn't loop, single loops around a single line, scene will loop around a whole scene, and all will loop around everything. You've also got playback my lines, which we already talked about, which will either mean your lines are playback or not. You can play your lines after a gap, as I also mentioned before. Auto pause after gap will mean that after you've done the other person's line, and then after it's left a right length gap for you to read your line in, it will then pause and not carry on doing their next line until you hit play. This gives you time just to get your line in. Displaying section links will show on the right hand side of the screen links to the different scenes. If you've got lots of scenes, it will help you quickly jump between scenes to the right one. And instruction tab will show the instruction tab. It does mean there's 6 tabs along the bottom, so if I turn that on, you'll see that you end up with a more here at the end for the instructions. So once you know how to use it, it's best to have that off. And then there's obviously a volume control and an extra gap delay. What that means is if you have the extra gap delay turned up, it'll right to the very top, it'll make the gap twice the length that it is actually when the length of your line is. And then if you have it down the minimum, it is actually the length of your line, and you can vary that just to give you a bit more time when you're starting out to say your line. You can also delete, and you can delete empty scenes if you've got scenes in there with no lines, or you can delete all scenes. You can't do them normally, you just have to turn deletion on, and then you can click delete all scenes, and it will check with you that that's what you want to do. So that's it. I think everything. Once you've finished with the script and you want to delete it, you can just swipe to delete the script and then press delete, and then that'll check that you want to delete that, and then you can hit yes or no to delete that script. Okay, one last point which I want to mention is the new feature in this version, which is the ability to load up a PDF script into the app. So here I've got a script, it's a script for Annie, which I've received via email, and what I can do is, if in my email I can select that script, I can then go and press this button in the top corner, and that'll then give me an option of what I can share it with, and I can do open in LineLearner. So I'm going to click that, and that'll open up in LineLearner. And then if I go to either the recording or the playback tab, on the recording tab, if I just swipe from here sideways, it brings the script across, and I've got the script there, and likewise in playback I can do the same, and I've got the script. Then when you're recording, you can just go do that, and you can still press record me and record others and record the lines, and as you go through you can just record those without any problems while reading your lines. Okay, that's definitely all for now. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you find it all useful. Thank you.